I think it's fair to say that the F250 Powerstroke was a much better performing towing truck on our towing loop, at least, for a number of reasons, which again, we'll get into. Welcome back to part 2 of the Ram 2500 Cummins towing review. If you guys haven't seen part 1, I'll put a video link down below. You guys can check that out. But part 2, we are starting off on the backside of our towing course where there's a little bit more hills and we really start to see that Ram 2500 Cummins struggle just a little bit. So let's dive into her. Well, let's get out of the old truck stop here and head on down the highway. First, an acceleration test, always fun. 60 kilometers an hour there. 60, boom, to the floor. 27 pounds of boost, nice. 27 again. $105, boom, 110. Yeah, I would stick with what I first said on our first acceleration test there. It is not the fastest engine, but plenty of power, plenty of torque as we saw on the way here. But that top end power just kind of, there's a little bit of a drop off there for sure. Another thing that's very critical when it comes to towing and pickup trucks is the gearing in the truck. So let's chat about that. This truck here has 373 gears, which I've said a couple times, I think is honestly a really, really good HD truck gear. You get a little bit of fuel economy there, but it's still a very capable towing gear, so nothing wrong with it. The only thing I have to say, I guess, is that is the only option. The only option you can get with a Ram 2500 Cummins is 373s. Unlike the Powerstroke, where you have 3 different options. You get 331s, 355s, or 373s like we have in here. So I just like that Ford kind of gives you an option so you can kind of choose to be more versatile depending on what your application is, what gears you would like to have in your truck. The other thing I think would be really cool, and I wish Ram would do, is offer the 410 gears for the Cummins engine. Now, they do offer the 410 gears in the, if you have the 6.4 Hemi, which I have in my truck and I really like. And I just think it'd be really cool if Ram had that optional upgrade for those who are really looking to tow, to give them a much better towing gear in the 410s. I think that'd be a really cool option. So we are approaching our big climb right ahead of us there. And I'm excited to see what this Cummins is all about. I have a sneaky suspicion it's not going to be able to keep speed. And I'll tell you why if that's the case. But it's the real world, we'll see what happens. First, we're going down into the valley. See if this thing can keep us at speed here. Oh yeah, this exhaust brake is just, it works miracles. It works really, really well, this exhaust brake. You can feel it pull you back. Yeah, very impressed with the exhaust brake on this engine. All right, so we are at the bottom. The rain is starting to come down here. All right, it's 108 kilometers an hour, 107. We'll boost up, as you guys can hopefully see. 15 PSI of boost, 106. Oh, I don't know, we get a downshift here or what? There's a downshift, oh Jesus. Big downshift. Yes, okay. This is what I kind of suspect. So 105 kilometers an hour, 106. So we are under speed. 107. Okay, so I'll tell you why this is happening once we're at the top here. 108. We might get to 110, but this thing is working real hard in 5th gear. 24 PSI of boost. Getting passed by F-150s. Come on, come on. 110. All right, so that took a while for us to get back up to speed there. we're at full boost. Well, pretty much 22 pounds of boost. Just trying to lug this baby up this hill, and that's what we were doing. We were lugging that engine down pretty good. All right, we made her, no worse for wear, but I will say that was not the best performance. The Powerstroke crushed that hill.
So here's the F250 going up this exact same hill with the exact weight, 14,000 pounds, with the exact same trailer. Now mind you, this F250 does have 331 gears, so it actually has lower gears than the Cummins, and just watch how well it climbs this hill.
So 109 kilometers an hour, lost a little bit of speed there. 9th gear, see our turbo boost has come up quite a bit. 108, 107, Ford. There we go, downshift, 8th gear, still in overdrive gear. We're really boosting now, as you guys can see. There we go, we're back 110. Wow, so 8th gear. Pretty impressive. Yeah, she's just gonna stay the course here. Just a hair under 2,000 RPM. And she's just gonna work her way up this hill. Not much to her. Not much to her. This is why I thought this would happen, because it goes back to the 6-speed transmission. Now, we've established that this Cummins has plenty of low-end torque, plenty of grunt. There's no question about it. But what happened there is we were in 5th gear and we didn't have enough low-end grunt to push this thing up the hill. However, we could not downshift in the 4th gear because we would have gone past our red line. So the truck had to hold us at 5th gear and just lug the engine down and slowly climb that speed up. Where if we had a 10-speed transmission like the Powerstroke, instead of having only 2 gears of option, really, we would have like 4 or 5 where we could downshift again, not be at redline, and really maintain some good power to the wheels. So that really goes to show the downside of having only a 6-speed transmission, whereas other trucks are having like 10-speed transmissions in them, both the GM and the Ford. To me, it's quite obvious where the weak link is, and I've already said in this video, is it's a transmission. And I mean, I know some people say that the 68 RFE transmission isn't as bad as people say. In terms of a daily driver, I'm sure it's just fine. I'm sure it'll get you to A to B. Purely when it comes to towing, it is holding back this 6.7 Cummins, in my opinion. I mean, hopefully you guys can see the Cummins, it's just so good at producing that low-end torque, and hopefully that kind of came through in the video here. But that 6-speed transmission is holding it back. And when we were going up that hill, it was a prime example of that. I had a suspicion that this truck, this engine, wouldn't be able to downshift another gear because it would have gone past redline. So if there was a 10-speed transmission hooked up to this engine, I think it would do wonders with the 6.7 Cummins. I think it would really, really give that Powerstroke a good run for its money, especially the high output. But with this 6-speed transmission that isn't even that strong of a unit, I don't know, it's tough. I love the engine. I think the Cummins is bar none the best engine in the segment. It's strong, it's sturdy, it's reliable, but you kind of have to buy the truck with the engine. And I love the Ram trucks, but that 6-speed transmission is a sticking point for me, to be honest, in the 2500 segment. So we got another little hill here. I'm curious to see how this thing reacts. So we're in 6th gear still. Yeah, 6th gear. So we're 104, okay. Downshift again. 103, boosting, full boost basically, 22 PSI. And yeah, once again, we kind of hit that little wall where we're just lugging down the engine and we can't downshift again because they'd just be too far in the RPM band. Obviously, we're going to get to 110 eventually, but it would be nice to have another gear in there so we could sit at like 2,500 RPM instead of, you know, 2,000. So we are coming to the end of our towing loop. Right now we are averaging 11.9 miles per gallon. The Powerstroke ended up with 12.5, so it was a little bit more efficient, but not by, you know, that much. Well, we made her back to the shop in one piece, as we normally do. Yeah, some pros and cons, which I'm going to talk about in this conclusion here, but first, we'll get this thing unloaded, drop the trailer, pull this thing back into the shop, and we'll talk about what we just witnessed. And I want to talk about a number of things about this truck, the pros, the cons, but I think it's fair to say that the F250 Powerstroke was a much better performing towing truck on our towing loop, at least, for a number of reasons, which again, we'll get into. But first, we'll start off with the pros. Number one thing that I like is just the way this thing sounds. It sounds mean, it's aggressive, it's just got that beautiful diesel knock, and when you put your foot down, it just, the power is right there, the sound is there. So the second thing that I really like that actually kind of surprised me was the ride quality. I expected something like the Duramax with the independent front suspension to be a much better riding truck. This thing rode really, really well. It's really smooth, the interior is quiet, and it surprised me. So ride quality, very, very good. Now getting specifically into the engine, I found that low end torque in this inline six Cummins is phenomenal. It's accessible. As soon as you put your foot down, it's right there, and I really, really like that. And this is what this Cummins does very, very well. The second thing, I guess second thing in terms of the engine is the exhaust brake. It is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal, and it blows both the Chevy and the Powerstroke out of the water. The exhaust brake is really, really good. It's no joke. It slows these trucks down very well. Much, much better than the competition, without a doubt. Now, where the Powerstroke came out ahead was the acceleration. Now, we kind of talked about why that is. Not the end of the world, but this thing is not the fastest truck in comparison to your Duramax or your Powerstroke. The Powerstroke was also more fuel efficient. It did not squat as much, and maybe that goes hand in hand with my ride comfort, because there are coils in the back of this truck. They are supposed to be heavy duty coils, but the Powerstroke has leaf springs, and it didn't squat anywhere near as much as this truck did. So that's another thing that the Powerstroke had in its advantage. And the last thing, and the final nail in the coffin for me, was the way this thing pulled pretty steep hills. And you guys saw, if you watched the video, that this thing struggled, not necessarily because the engine itself struggled, but because of its limited 6-speed transmission and the fact that it couldn't downshift anymore, where the Powerstroke, it could downshift to basically any gear it wanted because it just has such a good RPM range between gears, and it pulled that hill without much difficulty. Where this thing, you saw it lugged down, it could not maintain that 110 kilometers an hour right off the bat, and to me, that was the big telltale sign that the Powerstroke was a better performing engine truck than this one on at least my towing course. Now, before everyone gets upset at me, I'm not saying the Powerstroke is a better engine than the Cummins, but when you're looking at pickup trucks, you gotta factor in the whole truck, and the truck as a whole, the F250 just seemed to perform better on my course. Now, I love the Cummins engine. I think the Cummins engine is far superior than the Powerstroke, but I think the 6-speed transmission in this truck it really hinders the performance of this Cummins. If the Cummins had a 10-speed behind it, I think it would be neck and neck with that Ford, and it would walk those hills with ease. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think if you do own one of these Rams with a Cummins in it. Always curious to hear what you guys have to say, and I like reading the comments anyways. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to leave that thumbs up, and if you like cool stuff like this, don't forget to subscribe, because, well, we'll be towing with a lot of different trucks and hopefully giving you guys a lot of good information. Anyways, enough of me. We'll see you in the next frickin' video.